I'm Pat Mayo with your Week 3 DraftKings picks. This is the cheap player edition because you got to save money somewhere if you want to pay up for all those studs. There are 3 games on the DraftKings main slate this week that have a point total over-under of 55 or 55.5. That's a lot of points, so expect those game stacks to get pretty pricey, so you got to save the money somewhere. Now, this won't work as a part of a game stack, but Justin Fields is super cheap for a running quarterback. $5,200 in his first start in a very either pass-happy or Justin Fields run-happy game script as 7-point dogs against the Browns. Now, using Justin Fields won't allow you to stack him really with any of the other Bears, unless you really wanted to go Allen Robinson and Mooney, or Mooney and Kmet and Allen Robinson, with Chubb coming back the other way. That's probably not the best stack in the world, but if you just wanted to play a naked quarterback, just a solo quarterback, Justin Fields is exactly the type of guy to do that. Then you can fill the rest of your team with studs if you want. Now, if you want to go a different route, pay up for the expensive quarterback, where else can you save some money? Well, let's talk running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at $4,800 is shaping up to be one of the more popular plays on this slate, despite not having been good so far in 2021. So I think you go $300 more and just take a look at Mike Davis. Mike Davis was essentially written out of the game script a week ago when the Falcons took on the Buccaneers because, unsurprisingly, teams don't want to run against the Buccaneers. It won't work, so why even try it? Teams are starting to clue in to that strategy a little bit more. That's why we saw so much Cordarrelle Patterson in that game. Or at least you think you saw a lot of Cordarrelle Patterson in that game. In fact, Mike Davis actually played 67% of the snaps in the backfield and ended up with 7 catches in that game. There was nowhere to go on the ground, thus the rushing touchdowns never came. Now you get the Giants, a team you can run all over if you want to. Plus, that pass-catching prowess out of the backfield really elevates his ceiling. If he can find pay dirt once, if he finds it twice, he is absolutely breaking the slate, and he's $5,100. And fun fact, no one's playing him. So Mike Davis is a running back salary saver. I wouldn't go much below that based on what we've seen on the slate so far this week, because you can save money at some of the other positions. If we go over to wide receiver, you can check out Marvin Jones is $4,900 as 7-point home dogs to the Arizona Cardinals. He works well as a Kyler Murray bringback, if that's an option that you want to go to. And then take a look at Vegas. Vegas on the outside, you got Bryan Edwards. You got Henry Ruggs. Obviously, Darren Waller is going to eat in the middle of the field, but that's where you want to attack the Dolphins. Get away from Xavier Howard. Get away from Byron Jones. And Hunter Renfrow, the slot man, is in line for potentially double-digit targets if Miami can keep up on the scoreboard and keep the Raiders passing in this game. He's cheap. He's $4,000, and he's not really a part of any game stack that people are going towards. It's a great way to save some money. You can go down with the Van Jeffersons of the world. Fine play. You can use Donovan Peoples-Jones, especially if Odell Beckham sits. They are super-duper cheap, but they're also highly volatile. At least Hunter Renfrow is going to get you targets regardless of how this game is going to play out. At tight end, you can go super low, but I think as low as I want to go is Austin Hooper at $3,600. We're trying to find these receivers to replace the injured Jarvis Landry and a not 100% Odell Beckham. It's Austin Hooper. He's probably the best receiving threat left on the team. He's getting the workload, but the production hasn't come along with it yet. Thus, it's kept his ownership and price point down. But $3,600 as your last man in is a great way to save some money, and he doesn't need to be correlated to the rest of your lineup. And finally, there are 2 options that I can see that are not bad at defense if you need to go down. The Seahawks are, let's call them the third option because they're a bit more expensive, but they are in the 2000s. I love the Falcons at $2,500. You can pair them up with Mike Davis if you want to, and then you get a fumble recovery, a pick recovery somewhere near the goal line. Mike Davis rushes it in. Boom. You've correlated your lineups very quickly. But it's Daniel Jones. He's going to give you 8 fantasy points. It's $2,500. If he can give you some fantasy points with a pick or a fumble, and that gets returned to the house, we're dancing. $2,500. If not, take a look at the Titans. I don't love the Titans, but they're so cheap, and they're home favorites by almost a touchdown. That's usually a great situation for a DraftKings defense who's going to apply a ton of pressure on who knows who's playing quarterback for the Colts this week. Probably Jacob Eason, maybe a banged-up Carson Wentz. Either way, sounds pretty good to me. The Tennessee Titans, if you need all of the salary savings you can get, they're at the very bottom. Well, not the very bottom. They're one of the very bottom of the 2000s on the DraftKings main slate this week. I'm Pat Mayo. Check out my cheat sheet up on DKNation.com.